Hello and happy Tuesday, which is of course my book reviews day. And today I want to talk to you about The Vault by Richard Chizmar. So Chizmar did just have his new novel, Memorials, come out last Tuesday, but I'm going to dive way back to a limited edition only title that was published back in 2019 from Thunderstorm Books. In fact, it was published, these are the only editions in the world are available through Thunderstorm Books, and it was published in 3 different states. And because I was suffering from FOMO at the time, I have all 3 states. So I guess I'm going to showcase those 3 states while talking about the collection. You have your traditional Black Voltage title, which is oversized, numbered, signed by Chizmar. You have your Nightmare Alley version, which is also signed by Chizmar. It is not numbered. Then you just have your trade paperback. Now, the contents are mostly the same for each of the editions. There's a little bit of color artwork introducing the stories within the Black Voltage edition. But the real main difference, other than the signature and limitations and the binding, of course, is the font types, which is something you can tell they definitely had fun with here at Thunderstorm Books. So I'm not really going to show much of the paperback edition. There's really nothing to show. The contents, like I said, are exactly the same as the other editions, but with a smaller trim size. But what I will showcase while I'm talking about the short stories are the 2 hardcover editions. We're going to start off first with the Nightmare Alley edition, which was a limited edition of 99 hardcover copies with this nice bright cloth binding, boxed font on the cover. It's signed by Chizmar. It is not numbered, though. It's just limited to 99 copies. Again, the contents are the same as paperback. Nothing really to, go all out in. But the edition I'm actually going to show while talking about all of the short stories is the Black Voltage edition. Oh, you know what? A quick thing to say. Quick tangent, if you will, about the Nightmare Alley line. These are the 2 lines that Thunderstorm Books still publishes, apart from some minor, side lines. Black Voltage is the main one with its oversized bindings. Nightmare Alley looks a little different these days. Back in the day, they were cloth-bound books with a dust jacket. Nowadays, they are a leatherette binding without a dust jacket. So if you go looking for some Nightmare Alley titles from Thunderstorm Books, don't be surprised if the newer ones don't quite look like this. So anyways, let's dive into Black Voltage, and 3 minutes into this book review, actually talk about the book itself. So, as you couldn't tell by the name The Vault, these are early short stories by Richard Chizmar. He's opening up the vault of his previously published works. Some are actually new or previously unpublished prior. I don't want to say new because they are old tales that have been dusted off for this edition, which again, like I said, the Black Voltage is numbered and it has this nice kind of, not really end papers per se, but very nice paper to start and end the collection. And then it has a full color page here, and these full color pages also introduce and present the story name for each story title within the collection. You could tell that Thunderstorm had a blast with it. Whoever did the graphic design uses the same font type, the same typeset for the short story titles, but you'll notice as we're going through, the actual words are varied in terms of their placement within the vault. Now, like many early short story collections, most of these aren't good. I hate to say it. Most of them are not great. And I don't feel bad in saying that because Chizmar himself, in his introduction, admits to them not being very great. Some of them have potential. Some of them are diamonds in the rough. Where if you were to go back and take another swing at it, I'm sure you could make a much better short story from it. In fact, the short story "The Sniper" that closes things out did actually get a reworking a few years back. Brian James Freeman reworked it into Darkness Whispers, a superior novella compared to the middle-of-the-road short story that is in this collection. You can definitely tell that Chizmar was inspired or a big fan of horror anthology shows like The Twilight Zone, particularly The Twilight Zone of the 80s, maybe Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, because a lot of the short stories within this collection they almost feel like episodes of those shows. Now, albeit bad episodes of those shows, but episodes nonetheless, kind of with a twist or a horrific twist that kind of goes for shock value for the reader. Unfortunately, young Chizmar is not very good at making those twists not telegraphed or making them unseen. You can usually tell them from a mile away, but it's not really breaking the mold per se. Starting off with the Myers Field, this is very much a great example of that Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side type of short story about, was it Vietnam? It's about a war. It's about a veteran of some war, someone who did not die in the war, and he's joining, I would say it's not going to be Desert Storm because it was published in 88, coming back home to the Myers Field where, he's greeted by some old friends with a twist. Beachcomber, another very short story where you have a very pervy man who's, checking out the other beachgoers at the time, but with a twist. Roses and Raindrops, one of these short stories that really has potential. It could be made into a better piece. You can actually kind of see some of the influences that this short story may have had on his Chasing the Boogeyman novel that came out a few years back. In particular, like kids disappearing, kids being murdered. This is more supernatural. Chasing the Boogeyman is firmly planted within, not our world, but the real world, some other alternate version of the real world. This is definitely more supernatural. But what you end up getting with this short story kind of leaves you scratching your head. It's like, why? What did I just read? You Are What You Drive. This is one of the kind of taking a little bit of Christine and a little bit of those anthology horror series, kind of mashing them together with a shock value for the reader. It's not a good short story. It could have been, but it didn't quite turn out that way. Man's Best Friend. Let's talk about not the short story itself. I want to talk to you about the main character's name. The main character's name is Dick Foolery, which is hands down the single worst character name that I have ever heard outside of a porno. That sounds like a porno character. Hi, I'm Dick Foolery. I'm here to unclog your pipes. Like, that, why? What's to say about the short story? It deals with, corruption and shock value twists that you're going to see in a lot of these short stories. The actual contents of the short story, they're all right. But Dick Foolery, I couldn't get over that. The original unpublished version of The Sculptor. Admittedly, I haven't read the actual published version of The Sculptor. This one I actually enjoyed. This was one of the better ones from here. Like I said, this is a collection that's full of missed opportunities, I hate to say. A lot of head scratching, a lot of flat tires. You're not really getting much traction on these. The Sculptor, though, I did enjoy. It's not doing too much that's original. It actually, but it did actually remind me of a future novel, The Gothic by Philip Fracassi. And now any Fracassi freak is going to say that is scandalous as hell. But if you read The Sculptor, you're going to see the connections. And I'm not saying that Fracassi took inspiration from The Sculptor. I hate to say it. I doubt he even read The Sculptor. But it's one of those classic tales of horror corruption, but it has its moments. It's decently done. You can definitely see a author like in the pages who has a future of actually, writing better pieces. Somebody who actually has a shot. Kindling. This one, this is the homeless guy one, I believe. Let me just flip to the next page and confirm. Yes, it is. This is the homeless guy one. This one kind of sucked. It's just a few pages, and it's one of those little shock value that you could see a mile away, especially having read the previous short stories in this collection. I don't want to say there's always a twist, but there is a certain type of twist that Chizmar loves to use in these short stories. But hey, if he's selling them in magazines, he knows the working formula. Why change the formula? Cornucopia is a creepy short story. It makes you kind of want to take a shower afterwards. Some creepy main character in that one. Another very short one. Like I said, it's like 3 pages long. Nothing too bad. It's a little flash fiction in a way. More Than a Pet, one of the other good short stories in here. Until the ending. The ending really blew on this one. I enjoyed the idea of this kind of... it's a story of a young girl who has created a pet. It's more than a pet. And it's a very strange creature. And, you know, I kind of feel like I want to learn more about it. You know, if it could have been made into something better. And then the ending sucked. The ending was him trying to shoehorn in that Twilight Zone ending. And it doesn't quite work. Just Desserts. This actually reminded me of a short story from Curtis M. Lawson's Devil's Night. Lawson did it better than Chizmar did back here in the late 80s, early 90s. It's a mob boss wanting to take matters in his own hands, and it just, you know, it's Tales from the Crypt, but not a good Tales from the Crypt, like a bad Tales from the Crypt, bad Tales from the Dark Side kind of twist that you can see a million miles away. Then we get to Silent Scream, a novel excerpt written with Barry Hoffman. There's a lot of middle-of-the-road short stories in this collection, and there's a few that are good. And then there's this, which is the single worst thing I have read in years. I don't believe this was ever made into a full novel, and if it is, I'm not going to read it. If it wasn't, it's probably for the best, because it's not good. If you want to read some of the worst written women characters just in an excerpt, read Silent Scream. That is the really only appeal that one would have to want to read this. Otherwise, you can just skip right the hell over that. Billy's Day. Yes, here's another strange thing. If there are two major takeaways that you are going to have from The Vault by Richard Chizmar, one is that Dick Foolery is the worst character name he has ever written. Two is that Billy Chizmar, his son, probably has some very good things to bring up in therapy. Because he is named after... Billy was not born. When was Billy's Day published? Billy's Day was published presumably before Billy was born. Billy's Day was published in 1988, and I believe 1992, Family Man, I think, is the other occurrence of Billy. Billy was not born in 1992. Billy was named after not one, but two dead children that Richard Chizmar has written. That's weird. I don't know. Maybe he just likes the name Billy. But, like, if, like, he's like, honey, he's going to his wife, and he's like, I have the perfect name. I wrote at least two short stories in which I have gruesomely killed a child named Billy. Let's name our son Billy. That's kind of weird. Billy's Day is short story number 1 that features a dead Billy. It's all right. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it's kind of a quick short story, once again, with that bad Twilight Zone twist. Family Man, another flash fiction piece. This thing, I think, is only like 2 pages. Yep, 3 pages. You know, if it was longer, it could have been better. But, I mean, it's, once again, going for the shock value and being 3 pages long. I mean, I hate to say it. You could just pause the video and you could read the entire short story off this thing. You're just kind of getting the shock value again. And it's just, you're like, okay, it's flash fiction. Uncle Manny, another one of the bad ones from this collection. This one dealing with a traumatic relationship with one's uncle, which I hope is not based off... I mean, well, this has supernatural elements, but I hope there's no truth in any of the relationship with Chizmar and his own uncle, but who's to say? And then finally, we get to The Sniper. This is one of the good ones in the collection. It's not great, but it's good. I hate to say it, none of the short stories in this collection are great. You get a lot of mediocre, you get some good, you get some bad. The Sniper is good. It is the description of the worst day in a small town. You can definitely tell this was influenced by Stephen King. It's where Stephen King influence is right on its sleeve. If you wanted to check out The Sniper, there are several editions that you could find. I believe this was originally published somewhere. Oh, there goes my dog in the background. I apologize. Originally published in Siphent in 1987. You could find an old issue of that. You could find if you want to read it in its original glory, the chapbook published by Levidian Publications just a few years ago. I don't own that chapbook, but I believe it's just the story in its original glory here. Or if you want to read the superior version, do I still have it here? Nope, looks like I moved it to a different room. If you want to read the superior version, check out Darkness Whispers, which was co-written by Chizmar and Brian James Freeman. Essentially, Chizmar gave this short story to Brian James Freeman, said, hey, rework this, and they did. They reworked it into a novella-length short story called Darkness Whispers, where it really takes the best bits of this short story, kind of expands upon them, writes it in a better voice. Not to say this voice is bad, but it works better in Darkness Whispers. But anyways, to finish things out with The Vault, you also have an afterword by Brian Keene, which is a very strange afterword. It doesn't really have anything to do with the short story collection. It really has to do with the relationship between Richard Chizmar and Brian Keene. Namely, the fact that they live close to each other and they've never gone fishing together. I kid you not. He was asked to write an afterword, and he decided to spend his time complaining that Richard Chizmar never invites him fishing. Which, it's unique. It's going to stick with me as an afterword. Doesn't really do its job for the collection, but it's a funny little read if you know you want to check it out. So anyways, probably a longer video than I had anticipated going on. Now we're approaching 17 minutes. But this, my friends, is The Vault by Richard Chizmar, available on the secondary market, because all 3 editions did sell out rather quickly, but available in 3 states. You have your Black Voltage, you have your Nightmare Alley, then you have your unsigned paperback. It's not available in ebook. It's not available through any other publishers. It's only available through the Thunderstorm Books edition, which you'll have to find on the secondary market. But be warned going in, this is really only for completionists who really want to own everything Chizmar has published, because I hate to say it, the stories themselves really aren't that spectacular. It's kind of a bottom of the barrel sort of collection, which, like I said, is not necessarily a knock at Chizmar, because he himself admits as much in his introduction into his foreword. It's going to happen with lots of publishers or lots of writers who collect their early, previously unpublished or early, sophomoric writings. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. If you are a completionist, be sure to try to find yourself a copy of The Vault. Otherwise, I mean, it really probably don't need to read this one. It's one that's worth skipping. But like I said, I mean, it's already sold out, so it did its job back in the day. And you have 3 different editions to choose from, if you were to find it out. But thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I do at least 1 book review a week with plenty of unboxing videos in between here and there, so plenty to keep you entertained. I have a bunch of other Thunderstorm Books unboxings on the channel, as well as other small presses. So if you want to see other Thunderstorm titles, then check those out. So anyways, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you around next time.